My coffee mug slips from my hand and smashes on the kitchen tile, ceramic shards scattering across the floor. I hardly notice. My eyes stay glued to my phone as my thumb scrolls through photo after photo of smiling faces in my aunt's sunlit backyard. 34 guests. I count them like a ritual, as if the number might change if I try again. Cousins I haven't seen in years. My mother's college roommate. Even great Aunt Judith with her walker. Everyone except me. The bridal shower pictures show tables covered in cream linens, floral centerpieces in Fiona's favorite coral and mint, and champagne flutes lifted in dozens of toasts. A celebration planned down to the smallest detail in weeks, maybe months in advance. A celebration I only learn about now. The pain is sharper, because just last month I sent Fiona a handwritten congratulations card with pressed flowers from my balcony garden. I even offered to design her wedding invitations and programs for free, a cousin's gift. My condo in Portland suddenly feels cold despite the spring sun streaming through the windows. The light that felt warm a moment ago now feels exposed, unforgiving. I realized then that I wasn't merely forgotten. I was deliberately erased. I slide onto a kitchen stool and memories wash over me like a tide I can't stop. Last Thanksgiving repeats in my head, Aunt Marlene's voice across the dining room praising Fiona's recent promotion at the bank, vice president at 29. She beamed, saying she always knew Fiona would make something of herself. Then Marlene looked at me. Her smile thinned. She mentioned my little hobby, that side project of mine, the logos and the branding work. That little hobby that paid for this condo. That little hobby that built a client list including 3 national brands. My parents stayed quiet, nodding as relatives positioned Fiona as the golden child, right in front of me. Even when I brought up the $150,000 down payment I'd saved over 7 years, the conversation returned to Fiona's engagement ring. My hands shake as I pick up my phone again. I open my mother's contact and call before I can talk myself out of it. She answers on the 4th ring. "Ocean, is everything all right?" Her voice carries the familiar mix of concern and judgment, as if she's already decided I'm overreacting. "There was a bridal shower for Fiona yesterday," I say, steadier than I expect. Everyone was there. Why wasn't I invited? A heavy pause. Then a sigh. "Oh, that. Well, Marlene thinks you always make everything about yourself." The words land like a slap. Make everything about myself? When have I ever... I start. "Please don't start, Ocean. This is exactly what we wanted to avoid. Your cousin deserves to be celebrated without drama." My mother's voice is dismissive. The same phrase she uses whenever she wants to invalidate my feelings. It's not personal. My free hand stops trembling. A strange calm settles in. This is not a misunderstanding. It was planned, discussed, deliberate. I decide to call Aunt Marlene. "Ocean, don't..." My mother's voice rises, alarmed. But I've already ended the call. I find Aunt Marlene's number and dial, surprised by my own steadiness. When she picks up, clipped and impatient, I don't bother with pleasantries. Why wasn't I invited to Fiona's bridal shower? A pause follows, then a flat response. "I was wondering when you'd call." No apology. No explanation. Just cold acknowledgement. "You shouldn't be there. Fiona deserves a day that belongs only to her. Only her." As if my presence could somehow dim my cousin's happiness. As if I were a shadow threatening to darken her spotlight. I'm her cousin, her only cousin. The words feel empty even as I say them. Blood clearly holds no weight here. "Listen, Ocean," Aunt Marlene's voice sharpens. "We've all agreed on this. The wedding, too. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be. Some ties in this family are already fragile. The warning is obvious. If I push back, the little bond I still have with them might vanish completely." I stand at my kitchen window, staring at the city below, and in that moment I see the truth with clarity. My family values appearances more than genuine connection. They always have. I hang up without a goodbye. The silence in my apartment no longer feels heavy. It feels clear. A cardinal lands on the balcony railing, its red feathers vivid against the gray spring sky. It looks at me briefly before flying away, leaving me to wonder what it might be like to have that kind of freedom. Later that day, while sketching logo concepts for a client, my phone buzzes. I almost ignore it. Deadlines don't wait. But habit makes me glance. A group message from Aunt Marlene. "Remember to bring Fiona's wedding flowers on Saturday." Good thing we didn't invite Ocean. Less drama. My pencil freezes. The room seems to tilt as I grip the counter, Breath shallow, the screen blurring. I blink hard and read it again. This wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. A coordinated exclusion. I screenshot the message before it disappears with a quiet whoosh. Gone, but not before I captured proof. The notification shows Fiona, Aunt Marlene, and my mother all in the chat. My mother? Of course. The next morning, I drive to my parents' suburban home, the screenshot burning in my pocket like a weapon. Mom answers the door in her gardening clothes, dirt streaked across her cheek. Ocean? What a surprise. I was just about to make tea. I follow her inside. She settles comfortably into her armchair while I remain standing, noticing the family photos on the mantle. Fiona is centered in most of them, while I'm half hidden or caught mid-blink. I got an interesting message yesterday, I say, pulling out my phone. Accidentally sent to me. Her face shifts, not shock, but resignation. She doesn't deny it. We thought it would be easier this way, she says, smoothing invisible creases from her pants. Fiona deserves a wedding without complications. Complications? I repeat. You mean me? Now, Ocean, don't be dramatic. She sighs, using that tone meant for when I'm being difficult. Perhaps you should make other plans for that weekend in May. Other plans? My voice is steady, though my hands tremble. While my cousin gets married at the Grand Lake Hotel? A $95,000 wedding where every distant relative is invited, except me. Mom's brows rise slightly. How did you know the venue? Cousin Rachel called last week about carpooling. A small satisfaction stirs as she flinches. She thought I'd be excluded quietly. Silence stretches between us, the distance widening. Your father and I think this is best, she finally says. The family agrees. The family has been told what exactly about me? My voice drops to a whisper. She looks away, pulling at a loose thread on her sleeve. Just that you've always been sensitive about Fiona getting attention. The words hit like a blow. Years of holidays where Fiona was celebrated while I sat unnoticed. Years of my work dismissed while hers was toasted. You're trying to erase me from the family narrative, I say, the realization sharp. Everyone already believes I'm difficult because that's what you've told them. That's not true, she protests, but avoids my eyes. It is true. And now my choice is either accept being excluded or risk losing what little connection remains. Mom rises, moving to the window. I hope you make the right decision. Your father and I have been helping with your property taxes. If you cause trouble over this wedding, if I cause trouble? I laugh bitterly. You mean if I stand up for myself? If I refuse to be erased? This is exactly why Marlene thought you shouldn't be included, she says, voice hard. With you, everything becomes a drama. I leave without a goodbye, driving aimlessly for hours. 3 client deadlines slip past as I sit paralyzed, unable to focus on even simple tasks. 3 days of income gone while I stare at my phone, waiting for someone, anyone, to tell me this was a mistake. No one does. That evening, Isla arrives with Thai food and wine. She listens as I recount every detail. Unlike my family, she doesn't interrupt. She doesn't dismiss. That's classic emotional manipulation, she says, topping up my glass. They're trying to make you believe you're the problem when they're the ones shutting you out. Her reassurance feels like the first drink of water after a long, dry spell. Marlene and your mother are working together to control the story, Isla continues. Typical toxic family behavior. Later, alone on my balcony, I watch the city lights come alive as night settles in. The cardinal returns, perching briefly on the railing before flying off. Sitting there with wine gone warm, I debate whether to go to the wedding and force a confrontation or walk away and celebrate somewhere else. The family I've known all my life is slipping away. But is it worth fighting for relationships that keep hurting me? Fiona's engagement photos appear on my Instagram feed at exactly 8:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm halfway through my first cup of coffee when her smiling face fills the screen, her fiancé looking at her with practiced adoration against autumn leaves. The caption cuts deeper than any blade, celebrating our journey with those who really support us, keeping the wedding small with only the people who've always been there. My phone buzzes 3 times in a row, private messages from cousins I've barely spoken to at family gatherings. Why are you creating drama during Fiona's special time? Family should support each other no matter what. Aunt Marlene is so upset about your behavior. I set my phone face down on the counter. My hand trembles. The accusations don't make sense until I realize what's happening. They're rewriting history, claiming I declined an invitation when really I was intentionally left out. That evening, my grandmother calls while I'm washing dishes, her voice trembling with disappointment. "Ocean, honey, I never thought you'd refuse to support your cousin's big day." The plate in my hand almost slips. "Grandma, I wasn't invited." "That's not what Marlene told me." Her voice hardens. "She said you couldn't set aside your jealousy for one day." After we hang up, I stand at the sink, water running over my hands until it goes cold. The family's version of events is taking shape without me. According to Isla, who still speaks to my mother weekly, Aunt Marlene has been telling tearful stories about my jealousy to anyone who will listen. The next week, Barton Media cancels our contract for their spring campaign. The email is polite but blunt. "We've heard you can be difficult to work with. We need someone who fits our collaborative culture." 3 days later, Westerly Home Goods withdraws from preliminary talks. Losing both projects cuts $27,000 from my expected quarterly income. I map the connections carefully. Barton's marketing director plays tennis with my uncle. Westerly's owner goes to the same church as Aunt Marlene. Sleep becomes rare. I spend nights hunched over my computer, redesigning my portfolio site instead of resting. Every pixel change, every color tweak feels like reclaiming a bit of my story. At 3 a.m., eyes stinging from screen glare, I wonder how many hours it will take to outrun the whispers. My routine, once comfortable, fractures. I stop going to Marigold Coffee even though they make the perfect oat milk latte because Aunt Marlene's Bridge Club meets there Thursday mornings. I drive 15 minutes out of my way to a different grocery store after spotting my mother's friend Caroline inspecting apples in my usual aisle. Checking social media becomes a form of self-harm. Each notification triggers a bodily reaction. Racing heart, shallow breaths, cold fingers. I begin recording every family interaction in a leather-bound journal. Dates, exact words, witnesses. The evidence feels important, though I'm not sure who I'm collecting it for. An anonymous text arrives on Sunday. "Some people aren't stable enough to attend formal events. Your absence is a kindness to everyone." I recognize Aunt Marlene's phrasing, cruelty wrapped as concern. The phone slips from my fingers onto the couch and something inside me finally breaks. The doorbell rings at that moment. I think about ignoring it until I hear Isla's voice at the door. "I know you're in there, Ocean." She stands on the threshold with Thai food and bridal magazines, her camera bag slung over one shoulder. "What are you doing here?" My voice sounds hollow even to me. Isla steps inside, pushing past me. "Let's plan something worth celebrating. A day about joy, not appearances." I'm about to ask what she means when my mother's silver sedan pulls into the visitor spot I can see from the living room. My stomach tightens. "Client call in 5 minutes." I lie, reaching for my laptop as my mother knocks. Isla squeezes my shoulder before heading to the kitchen with the food. My mother enters without being invited, her eyes scanning my apartment for signs of my supposed instability. "We need to talk, Ocean." She sits neatly on my couch, handbag balanced on her knees. "This has gone far enough. The invitations are already printed. We're also down this." "What invitations?" I remain standing, suddenly aware of the power dynamics. "Fiona's wedding invitations," she says, smoothing an invisible wrinkle in her slacks. "You need to let this go." "This isn't about an invitation," I say, surprised by my own clarity. "It's about years of being treated like less than." My mother's face hardens. "If you can't support Fiona's happiness, maybe you're not the daughter I thought you were." The words should hurt, but instead they reveal something I've never seen before. I straighten my shoulders, reclaiming the full height I've spent years unconsciously shrinking around my family. "I'm exactly the daughter you raised," I tell her, my voice steady. "I just stopped accepting the role you assigned me." Something flickers across her face. Surprise, maybe respect, before she regains composure. In that moment, I realize a core truth that changes everything. My worth isn't decided by family approval. It never was. That evening, Isla and I sit on my balcony, half-eaten Thai food between us. She scrolls through her phone calendar. "I have a client shoot in Santa Barbara in 3 weeks. Come with me, we'll make it a working vacation." I could use an assistant. Her offer brings unexpected tears to my eyes. While my family finds reasons to exclude me, my friends keep finding ways to include me. A text from Thomas lights up my phone. "Just declined Fiona's wedding invite. Not going anywhere, my friend isn't welcome." The next morning, I attend a networking breakfast. For the first time in months, I speak with confidence about my design business. 3 potential clients ask for follow-ups. Something shifts inside me, a steady certainty replacing the old hunger for approval. 3 weeks later, Isla and I arrive in Santa Barbara. The Pacific stretches wide before us, like pure possibility. In a small marina bookshop, I meet Mateo, the thoughtful owner with kind eyes. After our 3rd coffee, he says, "You should see my villa at sunset." I restored it myself. The light would suit your design eye. That evening, on his terrace overlooking the ocean, clarity strikes me. What if the answer isn't forcing myself into a celebration that doesn't want me? What if I wrote a new story for myself? 2 months later, my phone rests on Mateo's kitchen counter, screen glowing with a half-finished invitation design. Morning light streams through tall windows onto the space where 18 place settings will soon welcome the people who truly matter. "What do you think of this font pairing?" I ask. Elegant script sits beside clean sans serif text. Too predictable? Mateo leans closer, coffee scent mingling with salt air. "It feels like you, confident, not demanding attention." I smile, adjusting the spacing. For weeks, every spare moment has gone into planning this gathering, not as a reaction to family drama, but as a celebration of who I've become. From hand-pressed botanical prints to custom playlists, every detail reflects both my craft and my real connections. May 15th, I say, tracing the date. Far enough from Fiona's wedding that no one can claim competition. Does it matter what they think? Mateo asks gently. It matters that I know my intentions. I save the file, close the laptop. This isn't about them anymore. For the first time since those bridal shower photos, excitement rises without the bitterness of rejection. I'm creating instead of reacting, building something authentic instead of begging for space where I'm not wanted. My phone rings. Aunt Marlene. I think of sending it to voicemail, then answer. Hello? My voice is steady. Ocean. Her tone could chill water. What's this about you planning a vacation during family wedding season? Take those posts down now? What posts? I ask, Isla's page. The save the date for your event. At a seaside villa. On May 15th? My stomach sinks. May 15th? But Fiona's wedding isn't until June. Silence. Then Marlene's voice dripping with false sweetness. Didn't you know? The date was moved weeks ago. May 15, Grand Monarch Hotel. Everyone's informed. Except you. So you're throwing your little party the same day? The accusation lingers. Family will take sides, Ocean. Think about what you're doing. Panic rises. Should I change my date? Apologize? But as she keeps pressing, something hardens inside me. I glance at the invitation, at Mateo rinsing mugs, at the home that welcomed me without conditions. I won't rearrange my joy to fit your judgment, I say quietly. What did you just... The date stays, Aunt Marlene. Anyone can choose which event matters to them. You've made your choice clear. I hang up before she can reply. Mateo watches me closely. Apparently Fiona's wedding is the same day, I tell him. Pure coincidence. Do you want to change our date? The question hangs. Postpone my joy to avoid conflict or honor the plan we created? Was keeping peace with those who excluded me worth losing my own happiness? No, I answer at last. We're keeping it. Mateo nods, understanding. This is the difference between blood ties and chosen family. One demands performance, the other offers acceptance. That afternoon, Isla texts. Saw the final invite. Gorgeous. Photography's my gift. Minutes later, a group chat forms, friends arranging travel and turning the gathering into a full weekend. Thomas offers wine. Gianna wants to source flowers. You focus on the creative side, Mateo says, showing me spreadsheets for logistics. I've got the rest. Working side by side, him with the details, me with the design, I realize we're building something my parents could never understand. Not a reaction, but intention. Not competition, but completion. Meanwhile, my phone buzzes nonstop with family messages. But this time, friends form the shield. When Aunt Marlene sends a long message about selfish choices, Isla replies with photos of oceanfront venues. When my mother asks how I could make such a decision, Mateo hands me paint swatches for the table settings. A week before the celebration, an unexpected text arrives from my cousin Rachel, whom I haven't spoken to in months. Grandmother is asking why you weren't invited to anything. Marlene's story doesn't hold up anymore. I read it twice, unsure how to respond. The next day, another message comes from Uncle David. Something about this wedding drama isn't adding up. Fiona keeps changing her story, and the family narrative, once carefully controlled, is starting to crack. Different relatives have heard different versions of my exclusion, and the contradictions are obvious. When my grandmother's name appears on my phone that evening, I answer immediately. Ocean? Her voice sounds smaller than I remember. I want to hear your side of this wedding business. Before I can reply, another call comes in from my mother. I let it go to voicemail, focusing on my grandmother's questions. Later, I listen to her message, strained, overly casual. We need to talk about a compromise. Can we meet tomorrow? It's urgent. I set the phone down, watching the sunset paint Mateo's garden in gold. For the first time, facing my family doesn't feel terrifying. Whatever comes next, I feel grounded. At 8:15 a.m. on Tuesday, 3 days before my ceremony, a knock comes at the door. Through the peephole, I see my mother gripping her purse while Aunt Marlene stands beside her, designer handbag in hand. I consider ignoring them, but the truth can't wait. Ocean, sweetheart, my mother says with forced cheer as she steps inside. We thought we should talk. Aunt Marlene follows, her eyes sweeping critically over my living room, where design samples for my ceremony with Mateo lie neatly arranged. This has gone far enough, she says, skipping pleasantries. I stay standing as they sit on my sofa. The dynamic feels different now. In their presence, I no longer shrink. We'd like to propose a compromise, my mother begins, fidgeting with her wedding ring. You can attend Fiona's reception, just the evening portion. If your eyes meet Marlene's, you cancel your party. Aunt Marlene adds, 2 events on the same day split the family. People are forced to choose sides. My mother leans in, voice softening. Your grandmother is very stressed. At her age, this kind of conflict isn't good for her heart. The manipulation is so obvious it almost makes me laugh. Instead, I walk to my drafting table and bring a leather portfolio. I want to show you something, I say, opening it to reveal watercolor sketches of an intimate seaside ceremony. This is what Mateo and I have planned. 18 guests. No formal invitations, just people who genuinely care about us. I turn the pages slowly, showing hand-lettered menus, custom place settings, and flower arrangements in amber and sage. The date was set weeks before I even knew about Fiona's wedding. We didn't choose this to compete, I explain calmly. We chose the villa for its perfect sunset lighting for photos. My mother's brow furrows. But why didn't you tell us? I pull out another folder with mock-ups of invitations I never sent. I respected your decision to exclude me. I didn't think you'd want to know. She looks genuinely stunned. Ocean, we never meant... I interrupt gently. You made your choice months ago. This celebration isn't about Fiona. It isn't even about you. Aunt Marlene rises abruptly, pacing toward the wall where client projects hang alongside ceremony plans. This doesn't change anything. Playing dress-up won't make Fiona's wedding any less real. Something snaps inside me, not in anger, but in clarity. I'm not playing, Aunt Marlene. I'm living authentically while you perform. I gesture to my portfolio. These designs aren't pretend. They're my profession, the work you dismissed as a little hobby for years. I slide a brochure across the coffee table. This is my wedding portfolio. 3 national brands hired me based on these designs. While you were telling everyone I was jealous, I was building a business that pays for this condo. My mother sinks deeper into the sofa, eyes lingering on a photo of Mateo and me at his villa. For the first time, she seems to see beyond her sister's narrative. Were we really that cruel? She asks quietly. Aunt Marlene snorts, grabbing her purse. This is ridiculous. I'm not sitting here while she twists everything. She storms toward the door but pauses. Fiona's wedding costs $95,000. It's at the Grand Hotel. 200 guests. That's a real celebration, I smile gently. That sounds lovely for Fiona. I hope she feels truly seen. After Marlene slams the door, my mother stays seated, smaller than I've ever seen her. You taught me I wasn't worth including, I say softly but firmly. I taught myself I was worth celebrating. Her phone chimes. She reads a text, face paling. What is it? I ask. Your cousin Deborah wants to come to your ceremony instead of Fiona's, she says, bewildered. How does she even know? I shrug. People talk, the same way they talked about excluding me. After my mother leaves, promising to think about everything, I water my balcony garden, wondering which ceremony she'll attend, if any. My phone rings as the sun slips behind downtown buildings. Ocean? Mateo's voice is excited. Modern Celebrations wants to feature our ceremony. They love the idea of an intimate, authentic designer wedding. I lean against the railing, watching a cardinal land nearby, the same vibrant red I saw when I discovered the bridal shower photos. The story is shifting in ways I never expected. I whisper, more to myself than Mateo, and smile. For the first time since this journey began, I feel neither sadness nor anger, just a sense of freedom. 7 weeks after our ceremony, I nearly drop my phone when Mateo shows me the stats. 80,000 likes on our wedding photo. The number feels unreal, yet there it is, alongside hundreds of comments praising our genuine celebration of love. Look at this one, Mateo points out, highlighting a comment from a well-known design blogger. Ocean's focus on meaningful details rather than empty extravagance redefines what a modern ceremony can be. I chuckle softly, recalling the countless family gatherings where I stayed silent while relatives praised Fiona's conventional choices. Now, strangers are applauding my vision, while my family's lavish hotel wedding fades into social media's background. My design business calendar is overflowing with new appointments. 3 major brands reached out after the wedding feature went viral, tripling my client base overnight. Just yesterday, an editor from California Wedding Quarterly emailed, requesting an interview about my design work. The irony strikes me, I tell Mateo, as we watch Portland's sunset from our balcony. They excluded me to avoid my stealing attention. And now? The doorbell interrupts my thought. A courier delivers a cream-colored envelope in Aunt Marlene's unmistakable handwriting. Inside is a brief letter insisting I decline the magazine feature, out of respect for Fiona's privacy during this difficult time. My hands should be trembling. 7 weeks ago, they would have been. Instead, a calm clarity washes over me as I slip the letter back into its envelope. "What will you do?" Mateo asks gently. I walk to my desk, grab a copy of the magazine that featured my design portfolio last month, and slide it into a mailing envelope with a note I've written without hesitation. I'm not competing with Fiona, I'm completing my own story. No anxiety, no desperate need for approval. The transformation surprises me. I've stopped seeking validation from people determined to withhold it. 2 days later, Isla calls with news that makes me spin around our apartment. The showcase is confirmed. 30 designers and I'm the headliner. My friends have organized a redesigned design showcase at a restored Seattle estate, highlighting artists who reimagine tradition. The event prioritizes authentic connection over manufactured perfection, substance over performance. At the opening reception, Isla raises her glass. "Here's to writing ourselves into stories worthy of our lives," she toasts, and the room erupts in applause. I stand among people who celebrate my vision, not diminish it. The contrast with family gatherings couldn't be sharper. The following month, Mateo and I move into a modest downtown apartment. Smaller than my condo, yet filled with light and possibility. My calendar now balances client meetings with speaking engagements about authentic design. While arranging prints for my office wall, the doorbell rings. Aunt Marlene appears, Fiona slightly behind her. "We need to talk," Marlene says, pushing past me. "This has gone far enough." Fiona looks uneasy as Marlene continues. "Was all this necessary? The magazine? The showcase? Were you determined to make a point?" I study their faces. Compassion unexpectedly rises in me. "You think this is about you?" I ask quietly, the first time I've celebrated without worrying about how they'd twist it. They leave soon after. Marlene stiff, silent. Fiona casting a backward glance I can't read. Watching them depart, I wonder, does healing family wounds require both sides to acknowledge the injury? Or is the healthiest path simply tending your own garden and letting others make their choice? What would you do? Try to repair relationships that cause pain, or nurture the connections that help you grow?